Why we choose to engage in the Palestinian-Israeli-Arab conflict in the first place had really to do with that is one of the key important issues for the undergrad population.
I think I'm looking forward to actually meeting people on the ground who've experienced the conflict their whole life.
My hope is that 3 weeks from now I'll be much more educated.
All the things that I'm fearful of might be confirmed on this trip.
When I come back from this trip, I want to, more than anything, I think, feel optimistic.
When we started OTI, there was never an idea really to create a big organization. We really acted on the will and the interest of the students, wanted to do this trip, wanted to learn more.
What made me join?
The moment I started telling people I was interested in the Middle East, the reaction I got from my family, friends, and just Americans in general was one of fear, and I thought a little bit racist.
I'm Jewish Israeli, so I was raised in Israeli family, and I have a lot of family here, and I've been to the region a few times.
I am Palestinian American, and I have lived in the West Bank area when I was younger during the Second Intifada.
I think I kind of got really interested as a response to that negative reaction by my friends.
I'm concerned about Israel, about security over there, democracy, what's going to happen to these Palestinians.
I feel like my role as just someone living on this earth as a global citizen, we should try and solve as much conflict as possible. So trying to figure out how I can do my part.
What am I looking forward to most? Girls.
I'm really excited for Jerusalem.
I'm excited for Bethlehem.
No, I'm excited for Bethlehem too.
I'm so excited for Bethlehem.
I'm nervous.
Excited.
Humility as well.
Trepidation.
Let's just have fun.
Prior to each of the trips, we require our students to go through intensive training modules where they kind of learn the foundations of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, about conflict resolution theory, as well as learning the historical facts about negotiations, the peace talks, who were the major players.
What the education sessions did was open my eyes to the complexity and to all of the different facets of the conflict.
And you first acknowledge the narratives and the beliefs and the truths that the other sides hold. Only then do you actually have the right to criticize and to come up with suggestions for the future, or only then do you have the right to educate other people.
We can see you be coming up to the UN, so get ready.
It's very clearly organized. First, we go to Washington, D.C. and New York, going to the State Department, going to the White House, understanding what is the U.S.'s role in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
We got both sides. We got kind of the official, it seems like kind of the state, people that represent the state are a lot more optimistic about what Kerry's doing.
I didn't really get a whole sense of the U.S. being part of this for peace.
I'm very worried also by our meeting with the UN. Because it does seem like time is running out.
Think tanks or even the United Nations or just people that have been studying the conflict for a long time, and the situation in their eyes looks pretty bleak.
And it's sad.
I love Jerusalem because the spiritual energy there is fantastic, and you see so many different types of people co-thriving. You almost feel isolated from the conflict. How could anything be wrong in a place like Jerusalem where there's so many different cultures and religions and beauty?
Today I was in the Armenian Quarter, and we kept trying to walk through Armenian Quarter, and we kept finding ourselves in the Jewish Quarter because it's so integrated, and I thought that was really just shows how much these people are on top of each other and how difficult it is to just look at a map and try and understand.
Well, it's challenging for me actually was going to Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum. That was, for the whole trip, I got to see so many different sides and so many different perspectives, but really connecting with the emotional side of what it meant and seeing my family who went through the Holocaust, and it was really moving and emotional for me. It was quite a difficult experience, but I was really glad to have it because it gave a lot of perspective for me on why Israel exists and what are some of the underlying biggest beliefs in Israel.
Both Christian. We're excited to see the Christian sites.
This is just like, we've been reading this book for our entire lives.
For our entire lives. Like, my
So-
parents read it before that. My grandmother, super Christian.
So you are like, okay, I want to go see that.
It's been interesting to actually visualize a lot of what we've been studying in the group. So we saw the water containers on top of a lot of the homes in Ramallah.
Personally, it amazed me the amount of planning that had to go into just taking a piece of land and literally building an entire city that's going to be economically viable for the Palestinian state. Something that really surprised me about it is it's very kind of westernized as a city, and it's very, very different than a lot of the other towns in the West Bank.
You're in the streets, when you're meeting the personalities, when you see the people who are involved in the conflict, what it means to them, it just becomes that much more personal to you. You understand what it means to them, and you can draw better conclusions.
People these days don't have conflicts anymore. They run away from it. You don't like somebody, you defriend them on Facebook.
They're in this environment experiencing this thing together. They aren't able to just leave. They have to work through it. And this is something very profound for students to develop as a skill set.
Students really learn more about themselves. They open up in different ways, question themselves. They are able to help each other, to inform each other, and come out as stronger people.
In the long-term development of these students to take a more active role in the global world and to take a more productive role in the global world.
So we're just walking between houses.
The Gaza refugee camp in Jarash. It makes everyone really sad and grateful at the same time for what we have, because you see the living conditions these people are living in, and you naturally compare it with your living conditions.
What's your name?
My name is Neil. What's your name?
I'm Rinat.
Nice to meet you.
I've never actually seen Palestinian villages and refugee camps in the West Bank before. And actually seeing those things makes it very real.
Monica.
This trip, I thought a lot of the conversations were going to be very political, almost like debate, like going back and forth. But we got there, and a couple of our translators, who were also refugees, started talking with us, and they were these 20-something-year-old girls, and we talked about pop stars and cultural things and how they wanted to travel and go out and do their makeup.
Don't underestimate the things that I will do. The stars of your love, they keep me breathless. I can't help feeling we could have had it all.
But it was really awesome. I think just being able to sit down and talk with them, see how much they are like us.
The conflict really exists between those few seconds that you interact with someone.
really solidified my belief in the importance of Israel having its own state, and I really think that, and I also recognize that Palestinians' right to self-determination.
I was surprised at how emotional I was on the trip. I was surprised by the plethora of solutions offered by everyone. It seems like for every narrative about the past, there's a different idea for the future.
I mean, on this trip we talked a lot about humanizing the other, and by having these different perspectives, you really get to humanize the other.
People that disagreed with me most fundamentally were actually the people I connected with most emotionally, because in some weird way, they really understood.
I think now it's, for me at least, it's become more personal.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see the way people even look at us.
I don't think we thought about it much beforehand.
Yeah.
Being a part of OTI really helped me understand the Israeli perspective and the narrative.
My views have been challenged, my views have been pushed, and how could they not be? I've never really been into the West Bank. I'd been to Jordan, but never to Amman.
What really has made this experience for me is the face-to-face conversation with the people living here. These narratives aren't mutually exclusive, and neither do they have to always conflict with one another.
I've been challenged. I've been challenged the whole time. Every conversation, every speaker that we've had. You need to have the spectrum of opinion, because this conflict is so nuanced and complicated, and our goal is to understand all of them. Perhaps not relate with them, but understand them.